Darlington from ESPN on the KJM show, talking about the process and the suspension hearing that will get underway tomorrow for Deshaun Watson.
It is obviously very important that tomorrow's hearing is taking place from the standpoint that this does at least produce some feel of finality, that this will be the final step before we find out what Sue Robinson decides. But we shouldn't really claim to know too much because this is the first time that Robinson has been in a role that's really quite new to the NFL as well. She doesn't have any precedent here, any experience with NFL litigation like this, like with disciplinary processes. So whether this means that she'll rule right away, whether it means she'll take into account what the NFL and the NFLPA, or whether it means she already knows exactly what she's going to do, all remains to be seen. So it's very important, yes, but also something that we'll learn as we go through this process exactly what it means.
And again, the hearing, just the first step. Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk talked about the key, and one of the things to keep an ear out for, the key as far as the Deshaun Watson suspension hearing that gets underway tomorrow.
The personal conduct policy, by its terms, says that owners are held to a higher standard. And as we've reported and as others have confirmed, the NFLPA is going to focus on Dan Snyder, the owner of the Commanders, Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, and Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys. Whether and to what extent they were investigated or disciplined for potential personal conduct policy violations of their own. So how do you begin to make that comparison? Because the argument will be that anything you do to Deshaun Watson has to be in fair proportion to what you did to them. Well, you don't just wave a magic wand and say it's proportional. You have to know what they did. Judge Robinson has to examine what they did. What did the league conclude? What did the league do to investigate? What did the league do to decide whether or not there will be discipline? What text messages or emails or other conversations may have occurred on the question of whether or not we're even going to look into it? These are important considerations. To truly make a fair comparison between Deshaun Watson and those three owners, some evidence is going to be needed. Some documents will need to be gathered and reviewed. And if Judge Robinson goes that way, if Judge Robinson tells the Shield that it's going to have to open up the documents, the files, the evidence, and share with the NFLPA things that it has tried desperately, especially as it relates to the Commanders, to keep hidden, that's not going to go over well.
With that, let's welcome in Eddie McDonald from Dog Pound Daily. And Eddie, that's a very, very valid point. If in fact the Players Association gets those documents, it's not going to make the NFL and Roger Goodell very happy.
No, it certainly isn't, and I don't see how that hurts Deshaun Watson's case in any way. I think it helps it tremendously. As Florio stated there, the punishment is supposed to be more severe for the owners because they're held to a higher standard than the players are. And if this comes to it, then that's a good chance for Deshaun to see minimal, if any, suspension. I do think he will get suspended ultimately. I do not know the amount of games. I'm not going to pretend like I do. Nobody does at this point. But yeah, if the NFLPA gets their hands on those documents, the league could be in for a world of trouble because they have been trying to hide a lot of things with the Commanders' investigation and the ongoings of that. So this could be very well suited for Deshaun and his defense team. We'll find out a little bit more tomorrow.